Larry Caputo's mother's death anniversary to be commemorated. Larry Caputo, the ex-husband of Long Island medium Theresa Caputo, is going to commemorate the anniversary of his mother's death many years ago. This time, Theresa will also be present at the event. Theresa asks Larry in surprise, "Why are you suddenly organizing this now, after all these years?" In response, Larry says, "Mom appeared to me in a dream. That dream was like a silent call that I couldn't ignore." It was a quiet morning in Huntington, Long Island. The sky hung low with soft gray clouds, and the air carried a stillness that seemed almost reverent. Larry Caputo stood in front of an old photo of his mother, the edges of the frame worn from years of handling. This year marked more than a decade since she had passed, but something about this particular day felt different. He had awakened from a dream he couldn't shake, one where his mother stood at the edge of a garden, eyes full of love, lips unmoving, yet her presence screamed louder than words. That same morning, he called Theresa. "You're doing what?" Theresa asked, clearly surprised as she sat at her kitchen counter, cradling a mug of coffee. "I'm organizing a memorial, just close family and friends. It's time," Larry replied calmly. "But, after all these years, why now?" she pressed. Larry hesitated, the memory of the dream flashing through his mind. "Mom appeared to me in a dream. She didn't speak, but it was like a silent call, a pull I couldn't ignore." Theresa, the Long Island medium herself, had seen enough signs and spirits to understand what he meant. Despite their divorce, she offered a soft nod. Then maybe she's ready for something too. The memorial took place in a small garden Larry had once helped his mother plant behind their old home. Guests arrived slowly, some with flowers, some with tears. Theresa stood quietly by Larry's side, sensing the gentle stir of something unseen. As the sun dipped below the trees, a breeze rustled through the roses. Theresa looked around, her eyes widening slightly. She felt her presence, warm, gentle, proud. "She's here," Theresa whispered to Larry, "and she's smiling." For a moment, Larry felt peace unlike anything he'd known in years. It wasn't closure, it was connection. Not an ending, but a quiet beginning to something eternal. However, in a small coastal town just off the edge of Long Island, where fog draped the early mornings and secrets lingered in the salty air, lived a boy named Eli. He was only 12, yet he carried an old soul, one that whispered to him through dreams, sudden chills, and the flicker of lights. Eli was what some would call a medium, though his family feared the word. Eli's gift first revealed itself the day his grandfather passed away. Sitting in silence in his room, he suddenly began speaking, in his grandfather's exact voice. His mother rushed in, trembling, as Eli calmly told her where Grandpa's missing wedding ring was. When they found it behind the fireplace, just as he'd said, the truth could no longer be ignored. But fame or help never came easily. The local community avoided Eli, children whispered. Parents crossed the street when they saw his mother coming. The family struggled with isolation, until a TV screen flickered with the presence of someone who might understand. Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. Theresa had spent her life helping others connect with the beyond, but she had never mentored someone with a gift like hers, especially not a child. Drawn by a powerful energy she couldn't ignore, Theresa reached out to Eli's family and offered to visit. Their meeting was like two mirrors facing each other, infinite and mysterious. Theresa sat across from Eli, her eyes wide, not with doubt but recognition. They didn't speak much at first. The air buzzed with a silence only spirits could break. Then Eli whispered, "There's a woman standing next to you. She's holding a rosary and singing." Theresa's face went pale. "That's my grandmother. She sang me to sleep every night as a child." From that moment, they bonded, not as teacher and student, but as kindred souls. Theresa helped Eli understand his boundaries, how to shield himself from the overwhelming presence of the dead, and how to use his gift with compassion. But there was more. A mystery began to unfold. Eli kept seeing a vision. A girl in a yellow dress, drenched in rain, who kept saying, "Tell them the truth." With Theresa's help, they traced her to a decades-old unsolved drowning near the docks. With messages from beyond, they uncovered a buried truth. The girl had been pushed, and the guilty had long hidden behind silence. The case reopened. Justice followed. Eli became more than a ghost whisperer. He became a bridge, not only between worlds but between past pain and present healing. Theresa Caputo continued her work, but now she often said, "There's another medium on Long Island now. Younger, stronger, kinder." And behind the reed, behind every whispered message from the other side, was a boy with an open heart, guided by a woman who once stood alone, until now. However, it was a crisp autumn afternoon on Long Island when Theresa Caputo received a peculiar package in the mail. There was no return address, only her name written in elegant cursive on the top. Inside was an old-fashioned tape recorder, dusty, with a few scratches on the surface, and a single cassette labeled simply, "Play Me." Intrigued, Theresa sat at her kitchen table, feeling that familiar tingle in her fingertips. The same one she always got before a spirit made contact. She pressed the play button. At first, there was only static. Then a soft, whispering voice emerged. "Theresa, do you hear me? I've been waiting for years." Chills ran down her spine. She didn't recognize the voice, but the energy around her flickered. Spirit was close. The voice continued. "I died in 1974. No one knew what happened to me. They buried me under the wrong name." Theresa clutched her chest. "Who are you?" she whispered aloud. The tape recorder stopped, rewound itself, and played again, only this time, the message changed. "I am Evelyn. I lived in Bayshore. My daughter never knew what happened. She still waits by the phone." Theresa felt tears sting her eyes. This spirit had waited decades to be heard. She knew what she had to do. The next day, Theresa followed the clues, old newspaper archives, obituaries, even visiting the house mentioned in the tape. Eventually, she tracked down Evelyn's daughter, Maria, now in her 50s, living in Pacho. At first, Maria didn't want to listen. "I gave up hope a long time ago," she said. But Theresa insisted and played the tape. As the message played again, Maria's eyes widened. That's her. That's my mother's voice. Oh my God." With trembling hands, Maria held the recorder. "She used to sing that little lullaby when I couldn't sleep," she said through sobs. Theresa nodded. "She never left you. She's been trying to reach you for years. And now, she finally has." The air in the room became warmer, softer. A presence seemed to settle, calm, peaceful. Theresa smiled gently. "She's with you now. She wants you to know it's okay to let go of the guilt." The tape recorder clicked one last time, then stopped completely. The cassette ejected itself, as if the spirit's message was complete. Maria hugged Theresa, tears flowing freely. "Thank you. Thank you for giving me my mother back." As Theresa walked to her car, she looked up at the sky. Another spirit at peace, another message delivered. But something told her, this tape recorder had more stories to tell. However, Theresa Caputo had seen many things in her life as the Long Island medium. Skeptics challenged her, fans adored her, and spirits constantly whispered messages into her ears. But nothing could prepare her for what happened one cloudy November morning in a small town in upstate New York. She was scheduled for a private reading with a woman named Elaine Hartley. Elaine was in her mid-60s, dressed in a dark wool coat, her eyes heavy with grief. As Theresa entered the cozy room at the back of the inn where the session was taking place, she immediately felt a chill, not from the cold, but from something spiritual. "There's a man here," Theresa said softly, sitting across from Elaine. "I feel a strong presence." He passed suddenly, heart-related. "Does this make sense?" Elaine gasped. "My husband, Michael. He died of a heart attack while fishing last spring." Theresa nodded. "He's showing me something in a pocket. He says, the proof is in the pocket. Elaine blinked rapidly. I don't understand. What pocket? He's very specific. It's in the coat he wore that day. He keeps saying, look in the left breast pocket. Elaine's eyes widened. That coat was donated to a charity months ago. I haven't seen it since. Theresa frowned but remained calm. He's insisting. Whatever it is, it's important. It's something he wanted you to find. That night, Elaine couldn't sleep. Michael's fishing coat had been donated to a second-hand store 3 towns away. On impulse, she drove there the next morning. The store owner remembered the coat, and, miraculously, it hadn't sold yet. It was hanging in the back storage. Elaine reached into the left breast pocket, and her breath caught. There, neatly folded and wrapped in plastic, was a small note and a vintage photograph. The note read, if anything ever happens to me, know that you are my whole world. I kept this photo from our first date in my coat because it reminded me of when I first fell in love with you. Michael. Tears streamed down Elaine's face as she clutched the note to her chest. Theresa had no way of knowing that note existed. No one did, except Michael. Back at her home on Long Island, Theresa Caputo lit a white candle and smiled softly. She didn't need headlines or validation. For her, this was what it was all about: healing, love, and the unbreakable bond between souls. However, it was a breezy autumn evening in Long Island when Sarah Thompson decided, with hesitant fingers, to dial the number of Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. Ever since her mother, Diane, had passed away after a long and painful battle with cancer, Sarah felt a hollow ache inside her that therapy and time had failed to heal. Sarah didn't believe in mediums, or she didn't used to, but grief changes people. She found herself watching reruns of Theresa's show late into the night, especially the episodes where Theresa delivered the message, "Don't remember me sick." Every time she heard those words, tears welled up in her eyes. That's exactly what she was doing, holding on to the image of her mother, pale, weak, and fading away. She needed peace, or at least a sign. 2 weeks later, Sarah sat nervously in the cozy reading room of Theresa Caputo's house. The room smelled of candles and soft lavender. Theresa walked in with her usual big blonde hair, leopard print heels, and a warmth that instantly made Sarah feel like she wasn't alone. Theresa sat across from her, holding Sarah's hands lightly. She closed her eyes for a few seconds and said, "Sweetheart, there's a strong energy here. A woman, a mother figure. She's been waiting to speak with you." Sarah blinked, her throat tightening. "She says she hated being remembered for her last days," Theresa continued. "She wants you to remember her as the woman who danced barefoot in the kitchen, who laughed too loud at her own jokes. She says, 'Don't remember me sick.'" Sarah gasped. Those were the exact words she had written in her journal a few nights ago. Theresa smiled gently. "She says you've been punishing yourself for not being there that last night. But she wants you to know, you weren't in the room." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. Theresa continued, "She says you need to bake her favorite apple pie again. But this time, play that old Fleetwood Mac song and dance like she used to." Sarah laughed through the tears. That was her favorite song. She used to pull me into the kitchen and twirl me around while it played. "She's showing me that exact image," Theresa said with a soft chuckle. "Humor her world, Sarah. She doesn't want to be a ghost in your grief. She wants to be the music in your healing." The session went on, filled with laughter, tears, and moments that Sarah would never forget. When she left Theresa's house, she felt lighter. Not because the pain was gone, but because her mother's love had found a way through it. That night, for the first time in months, Sarah didn't dream of hospital beds or IV lines. She dreamed of flower-covered hands, music in the kitchen, and the warm embrace of a mother spinning her daughter under a chandelier of golden light. However, it was a rainy Tuesday morning in Long Island. The sky hung heavy with clouds, casting a gray hue over the quiet town. Jessica Malone sat silently in the waiting room of the small studio where Theresa Caputo, the famed Long Island medium, conducted her private readings. Jessica was in her early 30s, a schoolteacher by profession, but her heart had felt like a cracked vase ever since her mother passed away 2 years ago. Her mother, Elaine, had died suddenly from a heart attack, leaving Jessica without a chance to say goodbye. Not a day passed when she didn't think about her, didn't wonder if her mother had known how deeply she was loved. "I don't even know why I'm here," Jessica whispered to herself, twisting the silver locket that once belonged to Elaine. The door creaked open. "Jessica, Theresa is ready for you now." Jessica stood up, her hands clammy with nervousness, and walked into the cozy room filled with warm lights, soft pillows, and the scent of lavender. Theresa Caputo stood with her signature big hair and warm smile, wearing a fitted black dress and holding a glass of water. "Hi, sweetheart," Theresa greeted, her Long Island accent both comforting and energetic. "You ready?" Jessica nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I think so." Theresa tilted her head, closing her eyes for a moment. "Right away, I'm feeling a mother figure stepping forward. She's holding her chest, like it was a sudden thing. Was your mom's passing unexpected?" Jessica's breath caught in her throat. "Yes, it was a heart attack." Theresa smiled gently. "She's laughing now. She's telling me she tried to tell you to get that second opinion about the leaky faucet." Jessica's eyes widened. Just a week before her mother died, they had spoken on the phone about her kitchen sink. "She was always right," Jessica murmured. She's saying, "That girl never listened to me, and look what happened. Water everywhere." Theresa laughed, and Jessica laughed with her, tears brimming in her eyes. Then Theresa's expression turned serious. "She keeps repeating that she heard you. Something about the night she passed." Jessica's voice cracked. "I talked to her body in the hospital. I told her I was sorry for not being there. I told her I loved her." Theresa nodded. "She's saying she heard every word, and she's showing me a white butterfly. That's her sign for you. She says every time you see one, that's her reminding you she's still with you." Jessica broke down in tears, her shoulders shaking with years of buried grief. "I just wanted to know she wasn't scared, that she didn't feel alone." "She says she was never alone. She felt you beside her even then," Theresa said softly. "She wants you to stop punishing yourself. You were everything to her. She's proud of who you've become." The room fell silent except for Jessica's quiet sobs. Something inside her, something cold and broken, began to melt. As the session came to a close, Jessica reached for her locket again, but this time it felt lighter, as if it no longer held just memory, but peace. Before she left, Theresa smiled and said, "Remember the butterfly, sweetheart, she's never far." Outside, the rain had stopped. The clouds were clearing, and in the distance, a white butterfly danced through the air. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.